Hello and welcome to part 18 of our video series on building a Node, Express and Postgres based API. Today we're going to carry on our work on our authentication tokens by implementing a few functions that are going to interact with the table that we created in the last video. So we're going to create functions to create, get and delete authentication tokens from our table, and then we're going to write some corresponding unit tests for us. So this is going to be similar to the work that we've done in our user store, where we're going to create a store that's going to provide functionality to interact with our authentication tokens table. So what we'll do, in the first instance, we're going to want to add a new folder to our domain folder here, and we're going to call that authentication token. Authentication token, yeah, spell that right. And then we're going to, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy this store file over from the user store because it's going to have the same require here. I'm just going to change this to authentication token store, and then we're going to have a method that's going to be insert, and then we're going to have a method that's going to be so it's going to be get, and then we're going to have one that's called delete. So delete token, spell it right, token, and then insert token. So what we'll do is we'll update these as well. So we'll update those to be authentication token params. And for inserting a token, what we're going to do is we're going to have we're going to have a couple of items actually that we're going to want to insert insert into our tokens table. One's going to be a user ID, which is going to be what the user that we're creating the authentication token for, and the other one is going to be the actual token as well. So we'll just do user ID and token, and those are going to be what this authentication tokens params has in it. And then what we'll do is we'll just update this to be, we'll just call these token query, and Postgres we'll do await postgres.client.query insert into authentication, oh my goodness, authentication tokens, and then we'll have these values, and the first value is going to be a user ID, second value is going to be the token, and then values 1 and 2, returning star, and then we're going to have in these fields here, we're going to have user ID and token. So that's going to be our first function that we created there. So this insert token is going to just run Postgres client query, insert into authentication tokens, user ID and token, and pass in those two values that we've extracted from this authentication tokens params, which is great. And then what we'll do is get token. We'll actually just pass that function a token, and we'll have what's this going to be? It's going to be select star from. I'm going to copy this because I can't spell it or can't type it particularly well. Authentication tokens where token equals $1, and that is going to be token. So what this is going to do is going to retrieve a token from the database by passing the token, so that we can actually validate that the user that's trying to authenticate is the right user, and that token exists. So it's just going to give us a nice method of being able to return a token given the actual string value of the token. And then what we'll have is we'll have delete token. We'll actually make this more specific, delete token for user, because what we're going to want to do with this one here is if for any reason a user is deleted from our platform, then what we'll want to do is we'll also want to delete any tokens that are associated with that user, and that will be done by passing in a user ID. And then what we'll do with this, let me just grab this query here because it's going to be similar. It's going to be similar in the way that it's structured. So let's just grab that, paste that in there, and what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to change this select star from to delete from authentication tokens where user ID equals $1, and then we'll just swap this out to user ID. And that won't actually return anything, so actually no, it will return something. It'll probably just be a null value because there shouldn't be any rows from it, so that should be fine. This one will just return whichever token gets returned for it, and this insert token will just return the created token as well. So that should be fine. We'll just update our export there as well, so that we export our authentication token store. And then what we're going to do is we'll write some unit tests for these new functions as well. So what I'm going to do, similar to what I would do in the real world actually, is if I've got something that's going to have similar kind of tests, I'll just copy and paste those tests over and then just work from those tests and just update them as we need to. So for this one, we know it's going to be the authentication token store. This one's going to be insert token. It's got a decently named test on here, and then all we need to do within here is we'll need to update the parameters that we're going to be passing to it. So we'll just grab these, and then what we'll have in here is we'll have a user ID, and then we'll just give it a user ID of 1, and token, and we'll just do random token. And then what we'll expect is we'll expect this. We'll expect the database query to actually return that created token there, and the response is going to be. We'll just replace user store with authentication token store. And we'll swap that with insert token, and then what we can do is we can just swap these out, because what we're going to want to do is we're still going to want to assert the query that we're calling here, so it'll be insert into authentication tokens, and it'll be user ID token values 1, 2 returning star, and then we'll assert that these are going to be, it's going to be called with authentication token dot user ID, and this one's going to be dot token. So this will give us it should give us, fingers crossed, a passing test. Once we've updated this, expect res to equal authentication token params, because that's what's being returned by the database client, and I expect it to have been called one time. So what we'll do is we'll just have a look at these unit tests now and see if there's any issues with those ones. So we've got a failing test, and that is because insert token user this, yeah, and just need to update that one. Run it again. Excellent, and we've got a passing test now for when we're creating our token. So that's a test for that one there. We'll do a test for the get token next. So we'll just grab this insert token, and then we'll just change it for get token, and the what we'll do is we'll just do const token equals random token. The database mock we're expecting to return. Actually no, we'll leave that as authentication token, and then we'll expect that to return authentication token. We'll expect, and what we're going to be doing is we'll change that to get token, pass in the authentication token as the argument for it, and then we'll just update this query to be what we're expecting it to be. So it'll be select star from authentication tokens where user where token equals $1, and then we'll expect the argument that has been passed to be authentication token token. We'll expect the response to be that one there, and we'll expect it to have been called one time. So we're expecting that to be the function call that's made, or the query that's made to Postgres. We're expecting that to be the argument that's passed, and we can see what we're expecting to be returned there, so that should be good. So no errors on that one, and we're starting to get closer to decent test coverage again. And then what we'll do is we'll just add another test for this delete token for user as well. And that's going to be quite a simple test, just similar to this get token. And what we'll do is we'll just update this one with delete token, and then what we'll do is we just need const user ID equals 1. We're expecting this to actually return nothing because it should have been deleted at that point, and then we'll have delete token for user ID, and then we're expecting this to be delete from authentication tokens where user ID equals 1. We're expecting the only argument to have been passed to it to be the user ID, and we're expecting the response to actually be undefined because there should be nothing that comes back from there, and the rest of it can be the same. Excellent. So now what we've got is we've got test coverage for all of those. We're up to 100% for our authentication store. There's not much really that can go wrong here. Obviously anything else will be picked up by our integration tests that we're going to write as well. But there isn't much branching logic, so our tests are actually just to assert that the queries that we're expecting are being run properly. The arguments that are going in are the ones that are being passed into the function. So it's a fairly simple set of tests. But this will give us the functions that we need now to be able to write our root handlers for anything to do with authentication tokens, which are going to be things like authenticating user, where they pass in an email address and password and are able to create an authentication token for a user. So we'll leave it there for this video, and in the next video we'll go and have a look at creating an authentication token when a user is created on our system. And that's it for now. I hope the video has been helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.